Hi, I'm Denise and I'm the founder and therapist of Infinite Hope Counselling. I wanted to come on today and do the last in a short series of videos around how to cope with things at Christmas time. If you follow my social media or my YouTube channel, you'll see that I've done two previous videos around coping with complex family dynamics at Christmas time and how to cope with being alone or estranged at Christmas. Today I'm going to talk to you about how to cope with trauma at Christmas. So this could be trauma that you've previously experienced, new trauma, or traumas that happen in the Christmas period. At the end of the video, I will leave some numbers of organisations that are open throughout the festive period where you can gain help and support immediately, and some numbers that are 24/7. I actually break up on the 22nd of December and I'm back to work on the 28th and 29th. Have very limited spaces on those days, but if you need support, please reach out and get in touch. So when we think of trauma, it's very difficult to pinpoint every single thing that covers, but it's an umbrella term that I use a lot to cover things like domestic violence, sexual violence, relationship traumas, childhood traumas, and that doesn't always mean sexual abuse. Sometimes that can mean divorce. It can have a substance dependent parent. It could be a relationship between you and your parents. It could be your partner and you. It could be your in-laws and you. It could be your children and you. Trauma covers quite a large area. But the reason I kind of wanted to do a video around it is because so many of my clients struggle at this time of year. So if you're one of those lucky people that Christmas is joyful and happy and you love getting together with your family and everything goes smoothly, then this might not apply to you. But I'd encourage you to watch it because I guess from my point of view, some of those people in your life may have experienced trauma or had traumas that they aren't sharing. So for this video, I'm going to use trauma as the umbrella term to cover a multitude of things. So when we think of Christmas, I think one of the trickiest things that we have is expectations. You know, how many times do you hear, oh, but it's Christmas, have an extra drink. Oh, it's Christmas, you know, we can have copious amounts of foods. But we've got to buy these presents because it's Christmas, or you've got to be happy because it's Christmas. And, you know, Christmas can be joyful and fun and filled full of good memory making, but it also can be really complicated. It can be triggering, it can lead to flashbacks, it can lead to loneliness. People can experience trauma at Christmas. It's so complicated. And so I don't have time in this video, unfortunately, because I'd be here for hours telling you how to cope with each specific type of trauma. But what I thought I would do is run through some basic points that might be able to help with whatever trauma that you're experiencing. And you'll see from the other videos when I've talked about estrangement and complex family dynamics that there's lots of crossover in this, because I think it is really hard. You know, for some people this year, they will sit in a room full of people that either knew about their abuse, perpetrated their abuse, minimized their abuse, refused to talk about their abuse. There might be people who don't know about their abuse. There might be people who have conversations around why they leave that partner that they really liked when actually they were abusive. That's just some small snapshot of things that people have to go through. So I think that it's really important when thinking of the festive period to consider each day of it. So not everybody celebrates Christmas Eve, Christmas Day and Boxing Day. Some people just celebrate Christmas Day. Some people don't, or some people stay with their family for the whole lot. So I think it's important to think about breaking down the days. So if you start with where your celebrations begin and the plans and expectations are created, it's important to think about how will you get through each of those events, and are there points where you can have a break? Are there points where you can have a rest? And interestingly, I'm talking about trauma today, but this applies to my introverts as well that I see, because you need space to just recoup and recharge and catch your breath. It can be overwhelming. You know, I work with clients who experience neurodiversity, which means that, again, they need that space to recharge that social battery. So when you look at your plans, and I'm just going to use some examples because everyone's plans are different, but let's say you're going to 2 different households on Christmas Eve to drop off presents or have a drink or whatever, is the car journey over something that needs to be prolonged? In other words, do you need to leave a bit later but there was traffic, or do you need to go for a walk, or do you need to prolong the distance in between those visits so that you can catch your breath and be okay? So breaking down the planning is really important, and do that for each of the days. So Christmas Day, I don't know, we go for a walk, we open presents, we do whatever. Which parts do you need to look at and think that's quite a lot in time? Can I sneak off to have a shower, or can I, like I said, go for a walk or take 10 minutes? And then I think something that's really important to try and do, if possible, this won't be for everybody, but trying to have another person that's aware of what you're going through at those specific events, just so that there's an understanding that if you disappear for 10 minutes, that person might check on you or text you, but won't overwhelm you with questions because they understand it's a difficult time. It's a really challenging time of year because there's so much expectation for everyone to be happy and okay. And obviously, everyone wants to be healthy and in a good situation, but that's not always possible. So I'd urge you to just break it down and take time. And then I think it's important to separate things out into categories. What are your absolute musts? What are your coulds? And what are your, well, it doesn't matter if we don't do that. And I say this sometimes to my own family about presents and financial expectations. What do we absolutely need to do? What could we do? And what should we, would be nice as a bit of an icing on the cake, because it's a good way to look at life. I think you need to think about things like flashbacks and recovery. So for many of my clients, they experience flashbacks and nightmares. Those clients that are watching this will mostly have somatic recovery boxes where they'll have things using their senses that will ground them, and it's important to have that box with you and visit it and make sure all your supplies are ready before Christmas. But if you're new to this and you're unsure what somatic responses are, it just means in your body. So I would encourage you, if you've had a flashback or wake up from a nightmare, to think about what's going on for you in your body. Take a moment to do an audit. What's happening in your feet? What's happening in your tummy? What's happening in your chest? What's happening in your head? Talk to yourself internally and work out what's going on for you. Take some time to recover. Make sure you get a drink. That can be hot or cold depending on what you feel you need. Catch your breath. Maybe sit outside, be in nature. Do the things you need to do. Now, if that's not possible because you're surrounded by people, one of the tips I give my clients is to go and run their wrist points under cold water or hold an ice cube, because it makes your brain take a deep breath, which sounds odd, but it does work. Think about having that dialogue ahead of time. What happens if you have a flashback in your family home or wherever you're having Christmas? Is there space for you to recover? Are you going to get left alone? And this is where having a person might be able to help, and they can text you and you can get a phone call so you can leave the room and just have that time. I think it's important to think about your own expectations of yourself. So if you're someone who's having lots of panic attacks and flashbacks, maybe 4 days in someone else's house is going to be a bit tricky. So how can you prevent that? I also think you need to think about recovering from Christmas. If you're going through all of these things and you're having to squash it down or try and be a different way for those days and times, have you got space then after Christmas to recover and rest and catch your breath? And then really importantly, it's okay to reach out and ask for help. Some of the numbers that I'll share at the end of this are literally open 24/7, and they're not therapists, but they're trained people who will listen. And sometimes it's a relief just to be able to say this stuff out loud to someone, or someone to sit with you while you're having a flashback or a panic attack or afterwards. So, don't be scared to reach out for help and support, and try to think about the fact that, Christmas period of time is 2 to 3 days or 1 day, depending on how you celebrate. You have a lifetime to make memories with people and to see people, so it doesn't have to be crammed all in all 1 day. And then where possible, offer yourself some compassion. The traumatic events that you're remembering or feeling or going through aren't because of anything to do with you. They're because the person that's inflicting them is choosing that. Your responses are normal and understandable given what you're going through. So I'd encourage you to be compassionate and kind to you where possible. And then when you feel you can, ask for that support and guidance. I just want to say that I'm thinking of you all this Christmas, no matter what your situation is. I think Christmas for me is a time for gratitude and reflection, and it's a complete privilege to do the job I do and walk alongside so many amazing clients. But I think you have to be kind to yourself and look after yourself. I will give the numbers at the end of this so that there's spaces you can reach out for the help and support. It feels like it can be insurmountable sometimes when you look at Christmas, but by breaking it down into small chunks, it can often help. So I just want to say thank you for watching. I hope this has been helpful, and I wish you all the best Christmas it can be, and hopefully a happy, healthy, prosperous new year. Thank you for watching. Take good care of you. Bye for now.